So now let's talk about the new book, The Alien World Order, because it's very much galactic history. And with galactic history, obviously, none of us have been around long enough to know what did happen in the distant past, and there are very few records. There's a few ancient texts like the Sumerians and oral traditions, obviously, of the different peoples of the planet. So what are the main sources that you used for this book?
The main source was written by somebody named Robert Morningsky, who recorded this because the information came from his grandfather, who was also a Native American. It all started with a crash on the Native American reservation, and his grandfather was one of 6 people, 6 young men who took care of the surviving alien and nursed him back to health. They called him Bekti, and over a period of years following that, he revealed this history of our planet and the galaxy to them. And Morningsky recorded it all and wanted to get a degree, a master's degree in this subject, but they all laughed at him.
Right. Well, it's difficult to convey these concepts, but let's start with essentially, because his history is vast and we don't have time to get into the entire scope of it, but the idea is that the reptilians were the first species to colonize Earth, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And that's
what he said.
Would that then would that correlate to the dinosaurs?
According to Robert Morningsky, they brought the dinosaurs with them to this solar system.
As pets?
As a food source.
A food source.
They relied on the dinosaurs as a food source. If you can imagine a species that relies on dinosaur meat, that's what they did, according to Morningsky.
Mm-hmm. And so these reptilians that came to colonize Earth, they still see Earth. They still exist. They see Earth as their planet. No?
Yes. As the original inhabitants, yes. They think it's their planet.
But now, in the course of time, have they adapted to a new form? Are they reptilians that have basically over time transformed into humans, or do you believe reptilians are still a species that exists, for example, underground?
Yes, they're underground. What happened was there was a federation of human planets, human star systems, that decided to confront them on this planet because of what they had done in the star system Lyra, which they had destroyed 3 planets and slaughtered 50 million humans. That was the first encounter between reptilians and humans, which was many millions of years ago. As a result of that, the humans had to scatter throughout the galaxy. And some of them came here. And they settled on 2 planets. They settled on melteth, which was the 4th planet in line, and on Mars. According to Morningsky, the Earth at that time was a water planet. It was uninhabited. So humans lived in this solar system for quite a long time, unbothered by anybody else.
Oh, the humans were here before the reptilians came?
The humans came to melteth and Mars, and not to Earth, before the reptilians got here. That's right. Of course, the reptilians roamed the galaxy. They had spacefaring technology for, according to Morningsky, they've had it for thousands and thousands of years, perhaps millions of years. And they finally got here to our system and saw that there were 2 human civilizations living here, and they decided to get rid of them.
So ultimately in this war, what was the resolution? Obviously humans are still here, so...
The resolution was that their plan was to take over the water planet that we call Earth and make it into an inhabitable planet for themselves in this solar system. What they did was they destroyed melteth. How they destroyed it is questionable. They had the weaponry to do it. They had a so-called Death Star weaponry, which they used to destroy planets in Lyra. So some people think their Death Star came too close to melteth and thereby made it explode. Others think they had a weapon that destroyed it. In any case, it turned into asteroid belt, which we now know. Then as they went by Mars, they stripped Mars of much of its atmosphere. So the Martians, who were then humans also, had to go underground on Mars. And then they came to Earth, and they dried it out, made it susceptible to their inhabitation. Two continents emerged from the water. One we called Lemuria, the other Atlantis. And according to Morningsky, they created the moon, which is an artificial planet, and started to inhabit the Earth. Having done what they chose to do to Melteth and Mars, they now felt unconstrained to worry about humans in this solar system. However, they were hasty in making that decision because the Federation was not pleased with this. And however, according to Morning Sky, the reptilians lived here undisturbed for about 200,000 or 300,000 years on this planet. And at that point, the Federation decided to send a race of humans here, which at that time was living in the Pleiades, who were originally from Lyra. So they had been through the Lyra desecration. Mm-hmm. They were a fierce human race and very advanced. The rest of the Federation didn't like these guys because they were troublesome. So the Federation says, we're going to send them to Earth to confront the reptilians. And that's what they did. And supposedly, that was the first human presence on this planet was on Atlantis.
And ultimately that war resolved with the humans winning and the reptilians going underground?
Yes, the Atlanteans, or the Atlans, they were called the Atlans, had very powerful weaponry, and they bombarded Lemuria with electronic pulse weapons of some sort, and ultimately it sank, the whole continent.
But
according to Morning Sky.
Atlantis did.
Atlantis stayed above water, but Lemuria sank, and the reptilians were forced to go underground. That didn't bother them at all because they were used to that. Mm-hmm. And they created an entire civilization inside our planet with high-speed trains, everything that still exists.
But ultimately, above ground, people have talked about the reptilian influence over our politics, our bloodlines, the elite bloodlines. Would you say it's reptilian influence, or it's actually other humans, like you talked about the Pleiadian warriors that were sent here? Is it those who are the ultimate rulers above ground?
Well, Atlantis established a tremendous civilization here. They had things that we haven't even developed yet in terms of technology. And about 50,000 years ago, they had a golden civilization on Atlantis. Mm-hmm. They were also very spiritual. And they did not have what we now refer to as a reptilian brain, because that came later. The reptilians then did what they always do. They created hybrids. They created part reptilian, part human hybrids, and those hybrids eventually caused the demise of Atlantis. They became what we call a fifth column in Atlantean society, and ultimately they caused Atlantis to sink as well.
Mm-hmm. And so then now we live obviously in the post-deluge, post-Atlantean world.
Right.
So the ruling elite are still the hybrid reptilians?
No, the Atlanteans scattered throughout the planet. A lot of them went to Tibet. They went to Central America. They had advance notice of what was coming. Edgar Cayce talked about this. He called it the migration of the children of the law of one. They created advanced civilizations in Central America, in Tibet, also an underground civilization called Agartha, mm-hmm. under the Gobi Desert. So the humans had gotten away to the point where they could keep the human race on this planet alive. And the battle continued. The reptilians and the humans continued to fight. And it was finally the Federation agreed to a compromise in order to decide who really controls this planet, Earth. And it was decided to create a new human race about 40,000 years ago. And we are that new human race. And unfortunately, the deal was that this new human race, by agreement with the humans and the reptilians, would have a reptilian DNA in the so-called reptilian brain, which we have.
Right, and that's the easiest place to mind control people
Exactly.
with the fight or
That's exactly
flight,
right.
the fight or flight
Yes.
part of our reactive mind.
Exactly.
But at that point, you're saying, since then, what has the relationship been like? There's basically a truce that's ongoing between the Federation and the stronger reptilian, probably draconian reptilians, that neither one can intervene too much, or how is it ultimately working out?
Well, the instructions given to the first humans were be fruitful and multiply in the Old Testament, because they wanted as many here as possible, and so we have multiplied to the point we're now 7 billion strong.
Right.
The reptilians remain in low numbers underground. What that number is, I don't know. Alex Collier thinks it's only 1,800. And so the battle has continued, but the reptilians use their perennial weapon, which is to create hybrids. They simply abduct humans, they mix the DNA with the reptilian. They have become what we now refer to as the Illuminati. And they basically run the show here.
But why is it that the Federation allows all this history to be hidden from us, is my question, because there's not too much evidence of alien presence. There's the occasional cave painting or painting from the past with images in the sky, UFOs. There's the question of who built the pyramids. But wouldn't the Federation let humans know that yes, there are aliens and we are not alone?
The Illuminati run the media. They control the media. They control the banks. They control the media. They're in charge.
But why isn't the Federation, which has obviously fought the reptilians historically, why aren't they playing more of a role in influencing?
Apparently, the rules of the galaxy are such that they're not allowed to interfere directly. They're not allowed to interfere. We have to fight our own battles here, and we have to win using our own technology and our own resources. They're here to help us in many other ways. For instance, in my book, I make the point that it was the Federation that created the Enlightenment, because the Catholic Church had become completely dominated by the reptilians, and they were deciding, using it as a means of mind control. Mind control is the way they operate, and the Federation created the Enlightenment, which consisted of volunteers from various human systems to come here, incarnate, and do what they did, which was the U.S. Constitution, the anti-religious precept that Jefferson came up with, all of that, science, technology. So you see, they've been active in that way, hoping that we could create a civilization here on our own to confront them and ultimately to win.
So you speak about utilizing basically humans activating their own awakening, essentially, and utilizing their own technology to defeat this. One of the theories you've postulated is that the U.S. invasion of Iraq, which many people to this day, I think, wonder as to the motivation beyond the oil question, seems to be something deeper. Stargates, ancient technology. This is ancient Babylon we're speaking of, right? So why do you believe that there was a desire to get a control of this tech?
I think it was Michael Salla who first brought this up, and I think he was right. I read his stuff, and I came to the same conclusion that there is a Stargate in Iraq, which is north of Baghdad. And we were afraid that the aliens would come through the Stargate in numbers and ultimately use it as a base of operations. So the whole intent of the invasion, according to Salla and according to others, William Henry, was to control that access to that Stargate.
Now, which aliens are we talking about? Are we talking about actual reinforcements from the positive side, or this would be negative?
Salla claims that they were trying to prevent the Anunnaki from coming through, because the Anunnaki supposedly inhabit the planet Nibiru, which comes through on a 3,600-year cycle, and when they get close to our solar system, they could come through the Stargate. The Anunnaki are distantly related to the reptilians, although my understanding is that they're not friendly.
The Anunnaki are not friendly to humans or to reptilians?
To the reptilians. They are reptilian in many ways, but they're not true reptilians. So I think Sitchin didn't make that point, but that's my belief.
So would you say the Illuminati then was trying to prevent just another rival to their power with that invasion?
No, I don't think the Illuminati were behind the invasion of Iraq.
Ultimately, then what?
Yeah, they might have been. They might have been. It's possible that they were trying to prevent the Anunnaki, who the reptilians don't like, from coming through.
Right.
That would make sense.
What is it that you think was ultimately the desire of the reptilians with the human race? Are we just a food source to them? I mean, what do they see us as?
According to the history that Robert Morningsky talked about, the reptilian empire, which is very large and consists of approximately 21 star systems in this part of the galaxy, that they have taken over. And when they take over a planet, they usually turn the inhabitants into slaves. Not direct slaves, but indirect slave, because they want them to continue to be productive. And we were just going to be part of that empire.
Would you say that we are currently under the control of reptilians via the Illuminati?
I think so. The Illuminati definitely run the show here. I don't think anyone argues with that. They control the media, they control the banks, they control the educational system, they control religion. What's left?
So what is the actual process towards awakening that humans can achieve? How do we kick our rulers aside and activate our own potential?
The main advantage that we have is our consciousness. According to an alien by the name of Kyla, who came here from the Procyon system, well, we have the ability to reach into the higher dimensions. The reptilians do not have that ability. That's why they try and keep us dumbed down. If we could raise our consciousness, not very much really, to the point where we see what they're all about and understand what it's all about, the game is over. Mm-hmm. They can't win here.
You've referenced a lot of, obviously, researchers, people like Morning Sky, people like Sala. What is do you have your own experiences, or besides the UFO sighting, that would really lend your belief system, I say, have shaped your belief system, that makes you take their perspectives as legitimate?
Well, I had an experience while I was in the Air Force, but it didn't directly affect my particular conclusions about the reptilians. But I use intuition a great deal and just connect the dots, and I came to the conclusion that David Icke was on the right track. And the more I put things together, I could see how it all fell together. I realized that basically right now we're in a stalemate, the humans and the reptilians. And there are forces in the galaxy that do not want this to become another Lyra.
How do you think that this new work of yours will help people recognize, I say, wake up in a sense, not be afraid, not feel like, wow, we've been the slaves for so long, there's really no hope, we are just stuck here? And how do you think it will actually help them empower themselves and recognize their own consciousness?
Once we truly appreciate the potential of the human race, once we understand that, and we will understand that eventually as we raise our consciousness, then there's no stopping us, because we can reach into the fifth dimension and beyond. They cannot do that. So really, we have the advantage if only we could understand it. But as long as they keep our educational system, our media under their control and keep us dumbed down, we amuse ourselves with video games.
Right. The virtual reality is another way potentially.
Virtual reality, yes. And eventually they want to create a human race that is part robotic.
Right.
And part human. By doing that, they can plug us into their central computer and then control us completely.
Right. And that's absolutely the ultimate threat of servitude and enslavement.
Exactly.
Right.
And eventually, the only entities left on this planet will be the hybrids, or robotic, or aliens. And the humans that derive their power from spiritual sources will be gone.
Right.
And they plan to do this by replacing humans with hybrids slowly, little by little. Once it reaches a certain number, then we're gone.
It's a pretty frightening concept. Yeah. Let's hope that we have allies elsewhere from the Federation and others who are working with us to liberate our consciousness. Len, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And there you have it, folks. Some fascinating insights from Len Kasten. You may not agree with or believe everything said here today, so I urge you to check out his books, including the new one, Alien World Order. Remember, the road to truth is a perilous path along the buzzsaw's edge. It requires constant reassessment. I'm your host, Sean Stone. You are the revolution.